Hey guys, it's Toby Morrison here from CFS Health, and on the other end, I have the amazing Christy Traub. Is that how I say your last name?
Yes. Yep.
Hey,
Perfect.
welcome.
Hi. Hi, Toby.
Oh, thanks
And
so much
everyone.
for jumping on and doing this call. You did our program. What year was it when you joined?
Oh, that's a good question. It was about 6 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And
Yeah.
so you did our old program, right? Um, and for this session, we're basically going to kind of talk about your journey, your amazing journey, and kind of where you were and what it was like going through it, and where you're at now, which is just amazing. And we kind of haven't spoken in a long time, and I actually got a really lovely surprise the other day. And I don't normally check the Instagram account, like the team runs it, but sometimes I quickly have a scan through and your name popped up. And I remembered you straight away because we had a phone conversation before you joined the program. And I remember you were a hiker and you just said to me, am I going to be able to hike again? Like that was your thing. Like, I just remember you loved hiking and nature and you loved doing with your kids. And I was like, well, yeah, like heaps of our members in the past have, so I can't see why you can't either. And anyway, you sent me a message the other day. I'm just trying to get it up so I can actually see it. Do you remember what you said? You sent me a message and you were like, Toby, I don't know if you remember me. I did your program like 5 or 6 years ago. I just wanted to let you know I'm doing so well now. I've volunteered for the SES. Is that right?
Well, it's search and rescue here. And so I am volunteering for search and rescue, and I'm a type 1 searcher. So type 1s are the ones that they put in when it's really difficult terrain, like
Wow.
longer distance or steep snow, terrain that other ones aren't able to go through. So yeah,
Wow.
I started volunteering with search and rescue a little over a year ago, and have done quite a bit of rescues and recoveries, unfortunately, but that also brings closure to family. But it's huge having had ME/CFS to be able to do that on so many different levels, just physically, emotionally, mentally. Because when you're recovering bodies, you have to be in a state of mind where you can do that and know that you're doing something good for the family and still have the strength to do that as well in the rough terrain. So yeah, that's fun stuff.
Gosh, I get emotional on these calls, but like I'm actually have tears in my eyes. Like,
If you
oh,
want me to go on, I will tell you this year. So when the
I
pandemic
just want to
hit,
say one thing. Like my auntie is in the SES in Australia, and like she's a
okay,
strong lady. Like she's one of those people. She's like a badass, Like she doesn't need sleep. She's always got a walkie-talkie on her when the alarm goes that she goes at 4 a.m. in
yep,
the morning whenever there's like an
or 2
accident.
a.m. Right.
Oh, and like she's a strong woman. And
Yeah.
the fact that you have had MECFS and yeah, it's incredible to see. Like I just and like you said, to have an impact on people who you don't know, and wow, like I'm actually blown away. Yeah,
Do you
tell me
want me?
tell
Yeah.
me more if you want. Yeah.
I can tell you more a little bit. Just recently, we went out and rescued a couple of people that were doing the Pacific Crest Trail and got caught in a lightning storm, and they had to go down in a canyon to get away from the lightning and find some safety. And then once they got down there, they couldn't get out. And so they called us, and about 4 of us went in and were able to locate them and then get them out safely with ropes and just different ways of doing that. But again, you're going against the cold, which you know um, is a struggle for people with ME/CFS to regulate their temperature, as well as just to go in the rough terrain, which is very steep, and then use your mind to put together a system and how to get them out, which there's no way I would have been able to do any of that
No.
6 years ago or 5 years ago. Even it. Um, recovery wasn't instantaneously. It took a couple years and or more, and a lot of work. And it's like this. It's not linear. So,
We'll
but to
talk about
go
that.
from, yeah, how severe I was, because on the spectrum I was quite severe, to being able to do what I'm doing now is amazing. And it's a testimony to what you're doing with the community. And thank you.
Yeah.
And I don't want to cry. Yeah, thank you.
Oh
because you helped me, I'm able to help other people.
Yeah, that's right.
And
yeah.
And do some pretty amazing things.
Yeah,
so.
No, absolutely. And you know, I was writing our mission the other day, because we're, like I said to you before, our program's changed a lot, and it's kind of times 20 in terms of how amazing it is. You know, like back then it was just a video course, and you had a little bit of support, but you really had to, like you say, self-start and do the work a lot. Whereas now we have a really amazing system and support system and accountability system to help anyone who works with us step by step every single part of the way, you know, to full recovery and integrating back into life. But in the mission statement I was talking about the other day, and I've written it, one of the things was the ripple effect. And, you know, we're not just doing this work for us, we're doing this work for the world. And what you learned through the program and who you become and what you do after that, and the life that you create and live, and pass on the knowledge and the learnings that you've had in your life, because you've got friends, you know, this is why you reached out, because you've got a friend who's suffering right now, and you said you need to go and check out this program. And for me, what's the most powerful, and why I was so emotional just before, is like, you're right, like you're helping people, you know, like, and I think it's just within us. Most people who go through this journey, they're givers, they're lovers of life. And like you said, and we'll talk about the lazy thing. Yeah, they're not lazy. You said this before we jumped on the call. You were like, you know, I was never lazy. Like, you were a mum, you know, you got 2 kids. You know, I can't believe you're 46. You look 36, which is just wild. It's pretty amazing. Your husband's lucky. You know, and yeah, I just think it's just so powerful to get better, but then not just live any kind of life, but to live with meaning and purpose, and love what you do and do what you love. And for me, what's the most powerful thing in my why now is the ripple effect that we're creating, and the ripple effect that not we have directly, but the indirect ripple effect that then you go and do. And to hear it firsthand from you today, it's just like, wow, like that's, you know, yeah, it's just you can't really put a word on that, you know, what's happening here. So yeah, thank you just so much for coming on. I'm sure we're like, what, 3 minutes deep into the conversation, and everyone's probably going, wow.
But you're making me emotional, because I'm thinking of everyone that's going to be watching this video and the ripple effect that they will have on the world too.
Yeah.
You know, because the people who tend to get ME/CFS tend to be doers in their heart.
Yes.
And, you know, and not that you have to do, you know, you can be, and that's a part of learning how to be. But still, I feel like people who are going to recover will make some changes too, maybe just within their friend circle or within their family circle, but there will be a ripple effect to it.
Yeah, and I see it all the time, and I see it all the time. But like I said, I did a video the other night on our YouTube channel, and like I don't spend heaps of time on the ripple, like seeing the ripple effect, because I'm in the work, doing the work, and helping our clients right now. But I'm reminded purely from people like yourself who reach out, or, you know, say yes to an interview, and it's hard to do an interview. You know, it takes, you know, courage and effort, and, you know, a lot of people just go on and live their life. But you know, you just, you know, yeah, so thankful that you're here and sharing a story, and so thankful that you've recovered, and also thank you just for doing the work that you're doing, and you know, you sound like you do it with grace, and you're really, yeah, you're literally saving lives, which is just amazing. And it's funny, we've got a fair few members doing that kind of work. I remember there's another girl who was in the ambulance in Australia, and Yeah, she's saving lives every day too. It's incredible to see. Let's rewind the clock. So it was like 6, 7 years ago. You were just saying before we got on the call, you weren't a lazy person. You were traveling, you were homeschooling your kids, you were traveling America. Was it America? You're traveling everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it was our nation. We traveled to 50 states and we went to 140 national parks, monuments, and sites. And we went up to Canada and we went all the way across Canada through their national parks too. We were learning on the road, and my husband travels for his work. And so it was just the kids and I. And we would stay in hostels and we'd stay in,
Wow.
like camping, and we would, they were avid backpackers with me, and so we did quite a bit. But I say this to say that I wasn't lazy, and
Of course not.
and yeah, but so oftentimes we're made to feel that we're lazy and that, oh, I'm tired too, and okay, so you just don't want to do anything, or you're depressed, and I'm like, no, that's not the case. I mean, I know that one time through the many, many tests that they had run on me, they sent me to check my brain, sent me to a neurologist, and they came out and they met my husband and they asked him, and then they asked me if I was depressed. And my response was, no, I'm not depressed, but I am frustrated,
Yeah.
and you would be frustrated too if you couldn't do these things. If you couldn't get up, if you couldn't sit, if you couldn't brush your teeth, you would be frustrated too. So no, it's not, but yeah, I think I went on a tangent, but
No, 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 no. It's so good. And like I forget what it was like for me because it was so long ago. It was like 17, 18 years ago now, but I had the same thing. And what really pisses me off is like, why would you go out of your way to go get blood tests? If you were, like to get blood tests, to sit in doctors' clinics, to literally find a bloody solution for the problem that you don't know what's going on with you. Would you really just do that to make it up? I don't think so.
yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I mean, it had been a decade that I knew something was wrong with me.
Mm.
And I know that you asked me to think about sharing what my life was like before CFS Health. And I got really anxious and nervous because so much of my recovery and my healing was not looking at that ugly part and not focusing on how bad I was. But then I said, Christy, it's okay because people are there right now and they need to have hope. And so if they don't know how bad you were, like on the spectrum, then they may not have that hope that they'll be able to do what you're doing now. So it was over a decade, I knew something was going wrong with the heart palpitations or the twitching of the eye, or, just I would have these vomit days is what I would call them. And there was no rhyme or reason to them. I'd go to bed feeling really strong because I was an avid mountaineer.
You were very so. I mean, you can see in your shoulders, like you've just like natural. You're a.
Well, I was a swimmer, so I was an athlete. So I swam, and so training for Alcatraz prior, and so I was swimming 2 miles a day or more, and then I was hiking 20 miles or plus more because I was into hiking the 14,000 foot peaks in California and stuff, and so I was doing that and homeschooling, and but
good recipe.
yeah, but that was frustrating because I was doing that, and doctors were like, well, maybe you're adrenal fatigue, or maybe this, and I'm like, how can I do all of that and still have adrenal fatigue or failure almost? But I was going through a lot of tests. They were testing my heart, and they were testing, like everyone goes through, went through this process, seeing multiple doctors and having multiple tests done, trying to figure out what's going on. But it wasn't until I literally could not move. And I'm lucky. I know I'm blessed because my uncle was my doctor, and not everyone has that relationship with their doctor. So when he could see me basically crawl, like need help into his office, then lay straight on the couch waiting with sunglasses on because I could not bear to look at any light, and then crawl in and lay down. And still, I was raised that you look at people in their eyes, but I could not remove my sunglasses, I could not even open my eyes. And he's like, oh, something's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
really
Yeah, the
wrong.
body's
And
shutting
so,
down.
so he did run some blood tests, and I did eventually go to Stanford, which is one of the few researchers, that we have here in the United States. And so they diagnosed me, but it was a long time of waiting and not knowing. And when those vomit days, going back to those vomit days, I would go to bed feeling really strong, and I'd wake up not able to move my head even a quarter of an inch without vomiting. And it would be like that all day long. And I'm like, this is strange. But nothing came of that until afterwards with my blood tests. And then it showed that I had the EBV and the herpes 1 and HHV6, and then I had low natural killer cells and some other things that they looked for. My T cells were messed up. But I say that because I was really ill. And you asked if I had kids, and I sometimes was really frustrated because my son was just turning 16 and my daughter was 14. And then mom, who's been there the whole life, who's homeschooled them, couldn't even talk to them.
Yeah.
It's intense. And, when you're in a dark room with sunglasses, and it has to be super quiet just because of the sensitivities. And then I couldn't eat solid foods for a whole month. My organs felt like they were shutting down, and they literally were.
Yeah.
And they were protecting the organs that needed to keep on continuing to work to survive. So my stomach just shut down. And so it was a long process. I couldn't take more than 8 steps without collapsing. And going from being a really strong athlete to actually having no shame and just curling up in a ball in an elevator because you have no energy to sit. Or, going to the doctor, but immediately in the front door, just laying on the floor because you have no energy. I probably should have been in a wheelchair, but wasn't. But even a wheelchair, I don't think would have served me well because of the amount of pain and the amount of energy it would take to sit up in the wheelchair, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I really was quite severe. And I don't like to go there because it does cause some emotion.
Of course. And
I did work through it and heal it, but it's just, I'm so blessed and happy to be where I am now. And so when I got diagnosed, I went online, like a lot of people do, because there aren't really any books out there to read. There are now, but back then there weren't a lot. And plus, I couldn't read. I couldn't read books for 2 years.
Well, that's it, exactly. And it's like, this is why we don't actually sell a book anymore, because it's like, even a book, it's not actually going to create the change anyway. Like, it's not going to be the biggest needle mover in your life. So yeah, fascinating that you say that. So you went online, you're searching.
I went online.
What was this? Were you searching at like 4 a.m. in the morning when you got like that insomnia, irritability?
Okay. So there is a thing. I find that people who have ME/CFS do best. I correct me, but a lot of my friends do best between 6 and 9 p.m. At night. And then and don't even try to talk to me like before. Don't even try to talk to me before 10 a.m. or 9. Like it's not. But even when in my sickest times, no one was really even talking to me because it hurt too much. My head was so it was so painful that you would just grab your head and curl up in a fetal position, and I would slur my speech even if I were trying to talk. So I lost a lot of vocabulary. So it was really starting over, learning how to walk again, learning how to talk again. And so when I went online, I'm not sure what time it was. It was probably in the afternoon. I was searching, and everything was so sad and depressing and no hope. And I think we've talked about this before, but one thing I was told, I was going to natural, homeopathic doctors as well as Stanford. And I was told by both that I would never hike again.
That's right.
And they looked at me and they said, Christy, you'll never hike again. And you should be happy if you walk just a few blocks. So I took on that projection because they're the experts, right?
Exactly.
And that's what we're taught to believe. And I took that on for a very sad hour, only an hour.
Wow.
But it was a very sad hour. And I was like, you know what? They don't know me. They don't know my body. They don't know my God. I am going to walk again and hike again. And then I came across you. And you gave me the hope that I needed to step forward and work hard, because shit, it was a lot of work. And I'm sorry for cussing, but it was a lot of work. Because resting and accepting where you are in the moment, which may just be on the couch with your legs up.
From someone who traveled the entire country and didn't
Yeah,
sit still. That's right.
That's work though.
It is
That's work.
Yeah.
And, and I was on a very limited diet. It's what worked for me. I know it doesn't work for everyone. But when I couldn't digest food at all, I had to kill my gut. I needed to do some things. And there's a lot, so much that we have to do. Well, I did. Not everyone is on the same end and the same place, and we're all different. But for me, having to stick to my diet too was a lot of work. I mean, it became easier as you get used to it. I never thought I was going to be able to eat some things again. I never thought I would be able to eat nightshades and gluten and sugar and dairy, like all that. And I can now. I can eat it all. And so, but it took 2 years, and I didn't know how long it was going to take. I do better without some of that, but I can eat it without effect, but I still do better without inflammatory food.
Yeah, so does everyone, right? And so that's
everyone does.
General health.
Yeah, but it was work. But I am thankful I found you online when I found you, because I was even at my parents' house that time. My husband used to travel all over the nation, and I wasn't well enough to be on my own with the teenagers. And so I was there and feeling very hopeless. And then I discovered you, and I'm like, he did it, I can do it. And so I am so thankful. And you are amazing. I'm not just, it's not like, oh, I can do whatever anyone else can do. But you gave me hope too, that there is a possibility of recovering. I may not be the same person I used to be, but that's okay, because I'm a better person now, because I've learned so many lessons along the way, like, how to listen to my body and not ignore it. And not that everyone ignored their body, but I did. Like when you're an athlete, it's the whole no pain, no gain sort of thing. And it's like, oh, no, you have pain for a reason. So maybe stop, maybe slow down, but yeah.
Fascinating. So cool. I feel like you'd be a really good coach if you wanted to be, if you learnt so much. Wow. So, and I think that's one of the biggest things that people struggle with, is just the fact that there was no hope. This is why I started this whole damn thing, because I went through exactly what you're going through. It was so fucking painful and excruciating, and life giving up, was like, what's, why am I doing this? Like, well, like there's nothing to look forward to. And I can't do what I used to be able to do. And you spoke about, before we were on the call, there's a transition period. And the transition period sounds like when you found me. you said that you had that hour of like acceptance of, well, the doctor's right, you know, or the person who has the title doctor who said you can't live, basically, you know, you won't be able to hike and da da da, which is just an opinion. And we've seen this so many times before with our members who have been told crazy things that they can't do this, can't do that. And then it's like, well, that's just an opinion. Is it fact? No. And they go and do amazing things in their life, which is a whole nother conversation really, but
it is. I mean, I do want to quickly point out though, and I think that I may have learned this in your program too, but you know you better than anyone else does. You live with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, your whole lifetime. So the people that come, those experts that come in and they say, yeah, this is going to be your life, they don't know. They don't know.
I think it's really misleading as well. And it's just, the question that I always ask is it useful? How can you know for sure that that's the truth anyway, you know? And even if it was the truth, would it be useful to even think like that? And it's just so limiting. And yeah, we've seen it time and time again. People throw their wheelchairs out. People start hiking again. People start traveling again. And we had one lady who worked with Stanford as well over in America, and great. There's some great doctors there. You know, I've spoken to them. They've reached out to us, and they love our program and things like that. And we talk about that. But and I love that. There's some doctors out there who really care about their clients and want to know what they're doing and what's working and how it's working. But she was told by a different doctor that she won't be able to get pregnant. And she reached out to me, and she was freaked out. It was a whole, it was a dream, imagine just being told, and it'd be like your dream, And I said, listen, this is just one person, and this person, yes, has a title to their name, but it's just an opinion. And I said, I would just treat it like that, not as fact, just as an opinion. And let's do the health fundamentals. Let's get you healthy as possible. Let's get your nutrition right. Let's focus on calming your nervous system down. Give it 3 months. Purely focus on what I told her to do. And guess what she did?
She got pregnant.
3 months
Does she have a baby?
She's pregnant right now. She sent me a message. Awesome. She goes, "You won't believe this." And I said, "I think I will." And she said, "I'm pregnant." And I said, "That's I told awesome. You." She posted in the group to share with everyone. Yeah. She's just over the moon.
Yeah, I do want to back up and say that I do appreciate doctors, and I do appreciate the doctors I've had, and they are very knowledgeable, and some of the things that they've shared with me have been very helpful. And you take all that information and you do what's right for you.
Yes.
Right. And so I chose not to do the 4-year antiviral treatment they wanted me to go on because it really upsets my body and the way that it was functioning. But I did choose to do something else that they suggested for about 3 months. And that helped. It helped with my natural killer cells. And I was very appreciative of that. Yep. And I did have a doctor from Stanford call me on Sunday nights. Who does that? He was so sweet. He would call me just to check in. And he actually followed me down the hallway saying, "Christy, what are you doing?" And took notes. And so I adore him and appreciate what he's doing because he truly has a heart for us and our community. And he's dedicated to it. And he is trying to help others to recover, and to do more. So yeah, I don't want to say that, but totally. You know you best. I guess that's exactly what my point is that and know you best.
And I think, what drove me to create this entire program in such a comprehensive way is because that's what the doctors lack, because they don't have the time. They don't have the time. Yeah. They don't have time. Look how much work it took for you to go through our entire program. We had like a 25-hour video program back then. We'd sometimes have some webinars and things like that as well to help you. It's a lot more comprehensive now, but even then, doctors don't have that much time to purely, it's so hard to say sleep better, eat better, move better, think better. It's like, well, how do I do all this? I'm incapacitated. I don't even know how to bloody get up in the morning, or, you know, I feel so shit half the time that how do I even do that stuff when I'm feeling so bad? What do I do? And so that was the missing link for me. And so that's why it gave me such a strong reason to create what we've created all those years ago, is because that's what I so desperately needed when I was going through it. And it took me so long to do it on my own. And I had to get all the pieces of the puzzles from different people and then eventually applied in my life. And so we just wanted to fast track that and make sure no one else had to go through what I had to go through on my own. What was it like when, so you found me, you were like, you go, oh, that's what we're talking about. God, we've gone sidetracked. But basically what I was going to say is, and you said this before, there's a point in recovery where you're mourning the life that you had, you're wishing it was different, you're hoping it was, you're still searching for answers, you're holding on to what doctors are saying or whoever you're seeing, you're like, you know, holding on for dear life. And then there comes this point of like, boom, it's like acceptance. And it's not resignation, it's acceptance of where I'm at. It's messy, it's shitty, it's chaotic, but you come to this middle ground where it's like, this is where I'm at. I accept it, I hate it, but I'm going to accept it. And I'm going to do what I can do to move forwards. And what happens is we go from focusing over here on the past, what we don't have, you know, missing, wishing, waiting, basically, to almost coming back to that centerpiece and going, well, this is shit, but what can I do about it? And I'm going to find anything that might help me or be useful for me to help me move forwards. And then there's this transition period where all of a sudden you let go and you stop the focus over here and you start the focus over here and you start to move in a different direction. And this is what happens with every single member who recovers. It's just a pattern that we can see in every single member. They stop focusing on what they don't have and what they don't want. It takes time. It took me a couple of years. I did an interview last night with another girl, and same thing. She took her, I think, 3 years or something, and it was that turning point for her. And she said, you know, I stopped missing my old identity and started building my new one.
Yeah.
And like you said, retraining your body again, retraining your brain, retraining your body, and reconditioning your body back to what you want it to be and what you want to do. And that's what I see you did, you know.
I literally had to die basically to that old self. I mean, like, I needed to not be that person anymore that I so desperately wanted to be, because that's all I knew. And then be like, this is, like you said, this is exactly where I am now. I'm alive. There were a few times I really wanted to die. Like, the pain was so intense. I mean, and I gave birth to my children without pain meds.
Wow.
And the pain is so intense that I did, you know, your brain is just swelling. But I didn't die. So here I am, not able to talk, not able to open my eyes, not able to even digest food. So what can I do about it?
Still breathing.
I can eat liquids. Try to anyway.
Drink water. Yeah.
Try to keep them down. I can visualize. And that's what I did so much of. I could visualize my cells working the way that they were meant to work. I can visualize the Krebs cycle working the way it's supposed to work. And that ATPs, ATGs, you know, the recycling of them, just visualizing the fluid running over and having them work. I can visualize myself taking steps without collapsing, you know, and then, so what do I do from there? Okay, then your program was so helpful because people were celebrating the little wins, any wins. So it's a win to wake up and then still be tired because you didn't sleep well, you know, or at all. But it's a win to be able to run a bath of Epsom salts and climb into it, you know, like, and not need help. And, you know, it's a win to be able to start to make breakfast and give your body the time that it needs to digest that food without even considering doing anything else. For me, it was like at least a half an hour or an hour before, don't talk to me until the eggs get into my body or whatever. But that was a huge win, being able to make eggs for breakfast, you know, It's a win to be able to brush your hair without your spouse having to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And all these little wins add up over time, and
They add up.
little by little becomes a lot. And one of the main teachings back then and still now is consistency over intensity. And you probably remember that. You would have remembered me
Less
saying
is more.
less is more,
Yeah.
consistency
Less is
over
more.
intensity,
Yep.
but doing it daily. And that's the work. It's not in the big gains, it's in the small gains. And over time, as you're reconditioning and retraining your body, basically, all of a sudden, what was hard 3 months ago is now the new norm. And and then you build on that. And I felt like I remember, God, I wish I could go back and search in the old group, but like, I remember you posting your first hike that you had, I think it was like 30 minutes or something with your kids. I think it was with your 2 kids. There was a photo of 2 kids in the background. I remember. I've got really good memory. And all those things.
Yeah, there was also a hike that I would do in Yosemite that would only take me 10 minutes to normally do. It was just, and my husband took me for Valentine's Day, and he doesn't hike. And so it was all extra special that he was gonna take me. And I was very nervous about it because I wasn't very strong at all. And it took me 2 hours, but I did it. And I was hanging on his arm. I was stopping multiple times. This was when I was doing obviously better. I wasn't in bed anymore.
Yeah.
But it was still so touching. And I'm like, okay. It was, again, gave me hope, even though it was not the most lovely experience and it was painful, it still gave me hope that I might be able to hike again,
Well, that's pretty big win from being told that you would never be able to do it. And then all of a sudden you're out in the woods and you're out in nature. And I know how much you love nature, and you would always post wins about, being out in nature and doing this and doing that.
I should show you something, but we talked about it not being linear, we're not, and you guys all know this, like our recovery is not linear. We're taught that this is how things should go. But with ME/CFS, and you find that baseline and you might go a little bit and then you're down and then you're up and then it's like, can be frustrating, because you think you're doing better and then it's like, oh no, just kidding. And then you come back up. But in doing those little and retraining your brain and thinking, okay, this is where I am now, but I may not always be here, but this is where I am now, and I'm going to accept that this is where I am now. And for me during that time, and I know that you say the program is different, but for me, it constantly had to be like my own scientist, my own healer, and think, okay, what was it that I did that may have triggered this? And I know I'm getting off a little bit, but as far as tips goes and what helped me, another thing that helped me, I was in the program when Rhea was in the program, and she shared about, there are different ways we use our energy.
Yes.
And at least 7 different.
Emotionally, physically, socially.
Yeah. You need energy in order to sleep. You need energy in order to digest food, and physically and mentally, if you're going to do anything. And so for me, figuring out, okay, what do I need today or tomorrow? What kind of energy am I going to, am I going to have tea with a friend or, anything, and making sure that I don't overextend my walking that day, or don't overextend trying to read. Like, again, I couldn't even read for 2 years. I couldn't do puzzles forever, but like, what is it that I'm going to use my energy for? Yes, I want to be able to digest food. That's important. So I'm going to save some energy to do that. And yes, I want to sleep. So I'm going to make sure that I save some energy to sleep tonight. Darn it. So, but yeah, that's something that was really helpful, and I wouldn't have even known about that had it not been for your program.
That's true.
I wouldn't even thought of it that way.
Well, the other thing that I'm thinking about, like, most people who aren't getting help, or at least the right help, what's happening is they're very much having this up and down experience, up, down, up, down. And no matter where you're at, if you're a 1 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10, that's usually what's going on. You go up, you go down, you go up, you go down. But what the program actually does and teaches you is how to get your baseline initially, is exactly what Christy just said. But then you kind of have an improvement. And rather than go down again, we level out. And
That's
we
so cool.
maintain. And then we go up again. And then we maintain.
That's so cool.
And then we go up again and we maintain. You know, it's exactly like trekking a mountain, probably.
Yeah, no, it is. And I've used that analogy so many times just because I do climb mountains. I want to like see if can I share some screens? Can I share some pictures?
Let me see. Yeah. Let me see if I can
okay, let me see if I can do this, because I'm just going to share with you host disabled screen. Okay, so you have to
hold on. Advanced sharing options, all participants. All right, try that now.
Okay, let's see if I can. Okay, I'm gonna try here because these are things that so these are things that I'm doing now.
Oh my God.
This is me right here and my son down here. But like this was a silly time when I should have had another axe with me, but I only had one axe and my crampons here. So yeah, I kind of sketched, but this is just in the last couple years, and this is me during a rescue.
Yeah.
And then we did some traveling too. That's my husband. And this is like, we got caught in a thunderstorm, but we're traveling and having fun. And so I'm just sharing that, you know, like going from totally being in bed, and then this is Mount Whitney.
Yeah. How do you actually get up there though? Like what, how do you hold on?
Climb.
No.
I'm climbing. Yeah. I mean, there's a rope there, and then here's mountaineering and Mount Adams. And this just shows me and what I love doing and what I was told I'd never do again. And really to go from not being able to read, not being able to form words, not being able to take 8 steps without collapsing, to again, planning trips and organizing and reading maps and doing 2 14,000-foot peaks this particular trip. One was, you know, like on Mount Whitney, which is our tallest mountain in the lower state.
Are they your friends? Like you went with some...
So this is me, and then these are my 2 friends, yes. And we did the trip Mount Langley and Mount Whitney together. And then this is me now as a search and rescue. I didn't have my hat on here, but we were out searching for someone during that photo. And this is a special one because before my son went to college, we were able to get to the top of this peak, Mount Banner, together, and that's me and my son.
Wow.
And then this is on top of Unicorn too. So, but I wanted to share because,
thank you.
You know, yeah, it's kind of like to have those visuals of being on top of a peak, and you know, like, but it's a lot of work to get there, and you know, we don't always know why we're going through what we're going through. But if we have faith and hope, then there's life. And I use the analogy that it's really difficult to climb a peak. You go through brambles, you go over, you know, through creeks and up quite a way. Sometimes you slide down as you're going up, and you don't understand why until you get to the top. And once you're at the top, you can see clearly why you had to go a certain way and why you had to re-step and go a different route. And in the midst of trying to climb that mountain, it's frustrating, you know, at times. Yeah, sure, enjoy the journey. Yeah, that you try and you do enjoy that journey, but sometimes it's like very hard. But once you're at the top, whatever that goal is, then you can, you know, obviously celebrate. But I feel like it's when you're in the valley, so to say, that your fruit is grown. You know, that's like when you figure some things out that will help you later on in life and your whole life. You know, like it's not at the peak where the trees produce fruit, you know, it's down at the down. That's not so nice, you know, like it is nice, but you know, it's like, okay, let's figure out what we want in our life. Let's figure out, you know, like how to get rid of our toxins. And that could be in a lot of different forms.
Well, one of the
You know,
forms, yeah, I mean, just one of the forms that a lot of our members go through, and you would have gone through this too, is letting go of the guilt.
absolutely. And that's one thing that I actually would say the first year of my recovery, I would speak it out loud and I'd say, guilt and fear have no place in healing. And I would say it out loud. I had to say it, but I would almost on a daily basis say guilt and fear have no place in healing. And I
100%
teach yoga
guilt.
now.
Oh, right. Wow. Okay, cool.
But when I started to do search and rescue, I also became a yoga teacher. And so there's a balance there.
No.
And so, you know, like we knew while we were doing the program how important the mind, body, and breath or soul are and how they're so intertwined. And in yoga, you know, that's what we practice as well. And I bring it up because a part of that, you know, the guilt and fear have no place in healing. It's a part of our mind and what we tell our mind.
Mm.
And our body is connected to our mind. You can't separate them. And
Well,
so, yeah,
guilt is that backpack.
working.
Guilt, yeah, guilt is that heavy backpack that
Yeah.
people wear. And you know, you went through it with the kids. Like so many mums, we have so many mums in our program, single mums as well, which is just unbelievable. Like they're so courageous, these women, and the guilt. And when they let go of that guilt, that heavy backpack that's got rocks and rocks and rocks, and they just take it off and fully just let go. And like you said, guilt has no place in healing. You know, guilt is just such an unnecessary thing to keep. And you know, it's so I felt it for years, but it wasn't until I came into that center point and was like, well, my mum and dad love me. Like they don't want me to sit here feeling bad about it. And even investing in yourself, like investing money in yourself, like so many people struggle with that. Like you would have gone through it when you joined our program. Like what was it like? Was it scary to join the program, or like what, or were you just excited finally for the first time? You're like, that's it, I'm doing it. Like, yeah.
You have to be brave. You know, you have to be brave, but at least I appreciated what you had to say and the hope that you had to bring, where I wasn't really finding it anywhere else. Sure, I love my doctors and they were supportive and the best that they could be, but they were still telling me that I would probably end up in a wheelchair and, you know, not be well. So yeah, I was brave. You have to be brave. And as back then, you know, as self leader, even though you were there and amazing, you know, it was just, but you have to do the work and be willing to do the work. And yeah, as far as the cost, it's worth it. And that's the thing, is so many of us will put other people in front of ourselves all the time. And surely we'll put our kids, and we'll do anything for our kids. We'll do anything for our dogs, really, honestly, and our cat. I mean, like I spent $10,000 on my dog, you know, like because I love my dog. And not a lot of people would do that. I understand not a lot of people have the means to do that either. And we really didn't at the time either. I mean, that's a lot of money, but for ourselves, you know, it's, I think that we all have the personality that we're willing to give and give and give. And that's why do we don't always necessarily listen to our body when it says, no, stop, sleep, eat, rest. You know, we just keep pushing forward, trying to do for other people and never saying no. And so to learn how to say no and learn how to put our needs, like almost like on a calendar, schedule it in. I just made a post about this. Remember to, you know, schedule in your needs. And other people don't need to know what you're doing. You can just say, I have an appointment. They don't need to know that that means that you're going to sleep, you know, or you're going to eat or do something that you enjoy doing. Get outside. And that's so important that you're spending time outdoors. And I don't just say that because I'm a hiker, but I think it's so healing and important to spend time outside, but to love yourself enough that you're giving yourself that time that you need to just be you and love you. And I know Ray said this a lot of the time, is be kind to yourself. Yes, certainly be kind to yourself. Love yourself. Don't be harsh. Celebrate your wins. So many of us, I mentioned before, like that type A personality where we're perfectionists or used to be, and never good enough. And we could always improve. And why aren't we able to make a meal right now? Why is the dishes piled up or the laundry, which happens at my house all the time? I've kind of let go of that, but and not have that guilt,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
and to love yourself and give yourself the time that you need, so you can function and more than function later.
Exactly. Yeah. Two
It
things
is.
that come to my mind when you're saying all this stuff is, well, it's funny about the investment thing. Do you remember Jay in the program? I think she was a bit after you. Yeah. The lady with the dogs, she used to post photos of the dogs all the time. Well, she said that I was reading her testimonial yesterday, actually, and I was going through all of them. And it's been an emotional week. I've been crying. I've been like tears like streaming down. It's been full, like
That's
amazing.
healthy too.
Exactly. And Jay said in her thing, she said, it took me a year to join the program. She'd seen it, she'd watched every YouTube video, she'd watched it everything, but she wouldn't join the program. And then she had this day, which is just wild for me. And exactly what you said. She said, I had this day when I was looking at my daughter, and I thought, if my daughter was going through this, I would spend quadruple the amount on her instantly. I would not wait a year. I would have done it yesterday and the day before and the day before. And so that was the day that she actually joined the program. And then, she, same thing, like, after a year or two, she's now living her life. And last time she was traveling to UK before the pandemic, and just on a world adventure with her partner and dog sitting and all that kind of stuff, which she absolutely loves. But two things that you brought to my attention was boundaries, learning how to say no. And this is what we teach majorly in our program now. We have a whole mindset component on honoring your own needs and your boundaries, which is just so important. And the second thing is the frameworks. And so you mentioned at the start, this hope and faith, which I do agree. I think, we definitely need that in order to, look forward to tomorrow, or at least have something to do, and for years, most of us go through that period where we don't know what to do, and we don't think and it's worthwhile because we just don't think it's going to change anything, but it does. And so ultimately, hope and faith is important, but frameworks, frameworks on how to get your baseline right, frameworks on how to let go of guilt, frameworks to stay consistent, frameworks to progress in the appropriate manner, frameworks to do the right thing at the right time. And I see that's what you did, like ultimately, like there's a pattern that we see when people start to improve and progress, is that yes, they have hope and faith, which is just the starting point. That's like putting the key in the ignition, basically, and then turning the key to the ignition is in, and starting the car is actually doing the daily work that can really move mountains, literally exactly what you've done. So it's pretty cool. So far out. So now you're a yoga teacher. You save lives. What else do you bloody do?
I adventure, but the awesome thing that happened this year is it's one thing to search for people, right? But it's another to actually try to keep them alive. So this year, I was a teacher prior to getting ill. I actually do have my teaching credential. And I did homeschool my kids, but then going back in the classroom, I didn't feel that's where I was meant to be, at least right now, this time. So this year,
so good. This is what we talk about. No, because like most, and this is a transition again of holding on to the old.
Mm-hmm.
But then, and now it's like, no, actually, it's about what life do I want to live and how can I create it, and moving and integrating into that. And this is what we do. It's so cool.
Yeah. And you're always learning, right? So it doesn't mean that I'll be doing this next year or the following year. But right now, this past year, the yoga teaching too, but I became an EMT, so emergency medical technician. So the ones that ride the ambulance. I'm not riding an ambulance, but I have the certificate that I could if I wanted to, but I did it mainly for search and rescue.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I got my wilderness first responder too. So, which you go from not reading at all for a couple of years to reading over 1,200 pages,
Wow.
for the EMT. And the National Registry exam wasn't easy. It's a tough exam.
No exam's easy.
No, but this one, if you get things right, the questions get harder and harder, and they go above what your knowledge is, and so and then it makes you feel like you fail anyway. It was a lot of stress, and I wouldn't have been able to do it, like even 3 years ago. But this year I was, and so I'm doing that. My husband, he's really sweet, and he calls me retired, but he knows that I volunteer in a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
And so, like he knows, and he goes, well, Christy, if you want to do this, you can do that, but the studying has taken a lot of time, and they actually asked me to be the search and rescue equipment manager, and that's a big job. So I'm running down to our cache, making sure all the equipment is there and it's working correctly. And when we get out on calls, making sure that we have what we need for that particular call. And so I'm also doing that. Yeah. And enjoying life, spending time with friends. I am a daughter. I'm a mother. My son just graduated college, university, which is huge, and my daughter is also a third year. She'll be a fourth year university student next year, and so getting to spend. My son has moved out. He's left the nest. He has a full-time job now, which is great. But my daughter is still here this summer, so spending time with her, adventuring. I have a new puppy, a Vizsla puppy, which is super hyper and energetic, and takes a lot of time. So training the dog, and I have a 2-year-old who is still a puppy, a boxer. So I have a Vizsla and a boxer, which is crazy. But so and a cat, and just enjoying being able to garden and do things that I didn't do for a long time.
Well, you're just such a picture of health. Like, maybe you raised your arm up before. I don't know. You probably didn't notice, and you probably didn't notice this yourself, or maybe you do when you see yourself in the mirror. But like, you are really a picture of health, and you can just see how well and functional your body is, and you can just see it. It's just absolutely brilliant.
For me, what took the longest for me to recover was my arm strength. So, and I feel that's because I was such a hiker before that my legs kind of like, oh yeah, I remember this, but my arms, they took a long time to recover. And really, honestly, I think it's only been the last year that I don't have like a flare up of some sort with my arms. And I'm going to share a story, because in one of the rescues we did, we had to pull a couple of people out of the snow, and they were hypothermic, so they had to be bundled up and then put on a sled, okay, like basically. And there were only 2 of us who were pulling this person, and there was one person in the back, kind of just as a guide, but the 2 of us in the front, and I was on the side, like hiking, like on an angle on the side, holding this person from falling down. So do you know how much arm strength you need to hold someone from sliding down the hill into a lake? A lot. And I did it, and did not have issues like I would have. I had normal issues, I feel like.
Of course.
Like, yeah, I zoomed slower because I did that for like, a couple miles, but it wasn't like I was hit by a bus, like I would have been before, like not being able to move and just be here, like, and that's what we do, right? We're like here, or like or whatever, and just not be able to function. so that's huge testimony that you're still have that, like you said,
Yeah.
improvement. And it may not be just a year or two. It may take a while. It was like 5 years that I'm okay. I can use my arms and not have issues like I did prior. So
Unbelievable.
that's huge.
We're going to wrap it up.
Yep.
Two things before we do. I want to leave the guys with two things. The first thing, the last thing's probably the most important, but the first thing I want to ask is, there's lots of people who are like Jay and like you, who are stumbling across this, or they're searching online. They're really resonating with the work. They're like, oh my God, this makes total sense. But they're scared to invest. They're scared to start. They're scared to maybe get better. There's also that, the hard, the hard
That's
work.
a thing.
Yes, it is a thing. Yeah. So we help.
That's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We and not to everyone, but definitely to some people, it's like, oh my God, like, is this worth it? Am I worth it? Am I enough? What do I do when I get better? Like all this kind of stuff. And so we help people let go of
You
that.
are absolutely worth every penny, every time, every phone call, you are worth it. Your life is worth it. You are loved. You are beautiful. You are brave, and you can do this. You may just need a little support, because it is hard work, and that's what CFS Health does. Is they're there to support and to guide and ask questions, to get you to think in the way that will help you recover. But absolutely, it is worth it. You're worth it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. And final word. Yeah. And I just want to say thank you. Just thank you for being part of this program, in the first place. It means a lot to me.
But Toby, thank you. Thank you for what you do. I had to stop helping at some point just because it was difficult for me to look back at where I was. I still wanted just to look forward, but you do this to help people, and you're continuing to help them, and you're continuing to be there and support, and that's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And you have given me my life back by showing me that there's hope, and by giving me a program to follow. Even if it wasn't as great as it is now, it was still really good. I mean, I thought it was excellent. So if it's better now, then yeah, you guys need to do it. But but thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. And now we just have an amazing team as well, just like a really great team on every level of awesome. Help needed. So it's not just me, it's the team as well. But yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate it, and this is why it's worth doing. And the ripple effect that's getting spread out into the world, it's amazing. Now people are watching this and hopefully feeling really inspired right now, but any kind of last words you want to kind of share with them?
Love yourself where you are right now. No expectations, but dream and set little goals. And remember, you are in charge of you.
Brilliant.
And you can do it.
Yeah. You couldn't have said it better, yeah, amazing. We're going to leave it there. I'm going to leave some links below this video for you guys. There's some free trainings if you want to apply for the program, to see if you can be accepted into it. You can apply for it below. And just thank you so much, Christy. Your story is just absolutely incredible. And for every single person who comes across you in the future, and all the people that you save basically their life, and the families that
I've done it without you.
Yeah.
I really, no, I couldn't have done it without the hope that you provided. So thank you.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. And yeah, stay in touch. Send me a
Yep.
send
Okay,
us
we'll do
a message to the Service Help page and let us know, you know, some stories from the last year. It's
Okay,
that's
sounds
incredible
good.
work. Yeah. Thanks so much, and we'll speak to you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers, love.
Bye.
Bye.